And step 3 in the sequence of a great setup is when the trade finally turns into a trending investment. Before we get to that, quick recap. The first step is when we get into a great setup is that we need to be in a situation where the, let's say, stock in question is at an extreme oversold situation. You can see this here with our vertical X Pro indicator. It gets extremely oversold. The arrows there stop printing, and it's time for an initial trade where we can get serious V-shaped reversals, dozens, sometimes hundreds of percents of returns are potentially to be made there. It's a great place to do an initial trade. Once that initial move is over, we typically start to see, in step 2, we start to see it turn into what's called a momentum trade. This is where, again, you can see the sequence going from that into a momentum trade. That's where we use our TST trend or momentum indicator. That's where algorithms, hedge funds come in and they start to push the trend, the stock higher through the lens of momentum. And that too is very, very, very profitable if one is positioned in the direction of momentum, because now we have the tailwinds of institutional investors and algorithms behind us. And you can see again, buy signal there, stock rallies very, very sharply. In this case, like 90%, then takes a breather, little sell signal, and then boom, right back to a new buy signal as algos are right coming back into the market and the stock rallies like 100%. So very, very profitable. But at some point, that initial momentum trade is fading and it's time for the investors to start coming in. That's where the real money, the pension funds and so on and so forth starts looking at that. And so when you look at this, it finally then turns into goes from a trade where a lot of money is being made to finally an investment. And we're looking at the same stock here, the same time period in time, and you can see how it was still a bearish trend in that red period, then started going into a neutral period where from a trending perspective, from an investment perspective, it's still kind of iffy. Is it going to go back to a bearish trend? Is it going to be going into a neutral or bullish trend at some point? In this case, it did go into a bullish trend, and you can see the green background color that emerges right there a few months after that initial extreme sell-off right there where everyone hated it. By the time we got here, it started turning into a very, very bullish trend, and you can see that's where algos sort of pass the baton over to investors, and the stock rallies another like 70, 75%, and then it continues on from there down the road. So that is the sequence of the makings of a great trade, how it turns from an extreme oversold into a momentum trade and ultimately into investment. Now, not every single setup that is extremely oversold will turn into this, but the really high quality ones, the ones that we see, the ones that you see in the stocks that you hear of, the ones that blow off the top, the famous ones, that's typically what happens. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you again in the next series.